Floyd, a rising star in the sports media landscape, joins the show to discuss how living in her purpose has led her down this career path. Oh, yeah, it's locked on HBCU. Play my music.
You are Locked On HBCU, your daily podcast covering HBCU sports. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, family? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked on HBCU podcast, your number one daily one-stop shop for everything HBCU athletics, Monday through Friday, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I, of course, am Darian Gray, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, Texas Southern alum and former TSU Herald Sports editor. Thank you for going on this journey with me, making Locked on HBCU your first listen of the day every day. And remember, just because the mic cuts off does not mean that the journey is over. It just means it's time to follow me on Twitter at South Exclusives. Starts with an S and ends with an S. But today's episode is all about one thing, one person. Our feature Friday today is about Floyd, a rising superstar in my mind in the sports media landscape. She sits down to discuss the family influences on her career, in her style, her career path, but then maybe most importantly, what it means and how she continues to live in her purpose. You know that I enjoy always peeling back the curtain, letting you know what's happening behind the scenes. I want you to know, if you're on the video side, that Ty was not wearing this when we first started. She seen my Texas Southern flag in the background. She decided to pull out her little FAMU jacket.
Yes,
Decided to pull out her FAMU cup. And then she just said, let me go ahead and get my FAMU hat. All I have is my flag, and I have a popcorn tin. Okay. I feel like I got to step it up.
You're repping. I was like, you know what? Let me make sure I'm on the same level here, because I don't need my people to see this and be like, girl. Even my daddy would probably look at this and be like, you take my card every homecoming, every classic, and you didn't rep your school in a Locked On HBCU podcast interview?
Come on.
I would have got some slack for it.
But you know what? That's okay, because at least I got my flag. I got my background. Now I know I got to step a little harder next time we talk. But it's okay. It's okay. It's okay, man. Look,
I mean, the most important thing, yourself. You brought yourself.
I did.
But
that wasn't enough for you. That wasn't enough for you. You said, I got to get the jacket. I got to get the cup. Just don't get thirsty during this interview. That's all I ask. If I got to see this stinking cup in front of me, I might make a 30-minute show into a 5-minute show. But look, Ty, man, when I see you on Twitter, it's always great stuff. But one thing I've seen you say quite a bit is that you live in your purpose, right? Yes. What does that mean, and why is that so important to you to do?
You know, I think I've always had the gift of connecting with people, and it's something I really pride myself on. My best friend, Zaria, she says, you don't know how to meet a stranger. You never meet a stranger. And I take pride in that. I take pride in knowing that, I have the ability to connect with people or put a smile on somebody's face, or, just by having random conversations with my people in public, people will feel comfortable enough to jump in, or I'll jump into other people's conversations sometimes. And, we leave that situation with some sense of, camaraderie. And I feel like God allowed me to have that gift, and then also to mix it with something I'm very passionate about, which is athletics. And I know that we have your points, and we'll talk about it later. But by growing up in a household that was an athletic household and having a father that was a professional athlete, I got to see the more so human side about how, these athletes that we love to watch and that we admire are people that have families, feelings, who love to do certain things. And I just really appreciate the fact that I'm living in my purpose, which means I am obviously loving sports, watching sports, having close proximity to it, but also being able to shed a light on different feelings, emotions, thoughts that transcend far beyond just the field or wherever.
Yeah, and I think that living in your purpose, being able to blend those two passions and skill sets of yours is one of the things that truly does make you special. And it's one of the reasons that you were just labeled one of the 15 women to watch in college football reporting. What was your reaction when you see that news? I don't know if you knew it was coming or what it was, but what was your reaction when you heard about this?
Yeah, so JD over at Light On Sports. JD is the nickname I call him, but his name is Jonathan Dobbins.
Okay.
Tremendous person, has been always super supportive of me, even when my career wasn't necessarily to the point where it was. I remember I was going to Alabama A&M to just visit my friend. My friend my friend lives in Huntsville, and Alabama A&M is in the same city. And I was just going to a game, and that's when I just started interning for the SWAC and really getting my face out there. Chauncey Sanders, invited me onto the broadcast, and Jonathan Dobbins was promoting it, was just showing so much support, and ever since then has done the same. But I just remember, JD kind of gave me the head up. He let me know, hey, I'm going to include you in this. And it just meant a lot to me. Number one, because of the fact that a lot of my opportunities, especially as far as on camera stuff goes, have really come from basketball. So I think people know I'm pretty well rounded, but at the same time, football is where my passion lies. Football is what I love. I have a very high football acumen. I study it, and I really love the game and enjoy it. So to be recognized as someone, even when I feel like I'm not doing enough in it, um, someone to watch, someone to follow for this upcoming athletic year, which I think is going to be great. It's just amazing feeling, and so I was very grateful for that, and just very excited. It gave me a very, very much needed confidence boost.
And if you look at that list, if you haven't checked it out, I'll retweet it again. I'll retweet it Friday morning. I'll set an alarm because so often I say I'll do something on the show and I never do it. It's not because I just be lying. My memory is on the negative for. Okay. So, but the thing about that list that I thought was special is you look at it and over half of the women on that list are Black women. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that's great about that list, and we've seen some OGs who've been around for years. We see a rise of new faces to me when it comes to Black women being represented on sports television. What's the next step in your mind?
As far as my career, or as women in sports as a whole?
Women in general, women in sports in general.
Oh wow, I see it. I see the what they would call a male dominated industry. I see that dissolving because there's so many women in so many different aspects of sports who are truly transcending. I mean, you look at women like Jennifer King or Coach Jennifer King and Coach Lo Locust, who are in roles. Lo Locust, I just met her last week. Won a Super Bowl. You look at women like Agent Nicole Lynn, who is the president of football over at Clutch Sports. You look at women who are in um, roles like women who have kind of just kicked the shelf life expectations out the window, with women like Pam Oliver and Laura Oakman still dominating NFL sidelines and have been for like 30 years. You look at women like Tiffany Green, who I'm honored to be on that list with, as she is someone who has had a profound impact on my life and career for over a decade. But you have women like Tiffany Green who are behind, who are at like the desk or like who are announcing. And then you have, women like me and others who are continuing to trickle in, like Simone Stanley, who is doing exceptionally well in baseball, especially. So I see so many women in sports having so many different positions to where when my kids are older, should they decide to have a career in sports, it won't be such a male dominated industry. That won't be a term that we use. It'll be
Hmm.
a well mixed and well rounded industry.
Yeah, I think that's a not only a great goal, but I think it's also something I agree with you that we're moving towards. Now, when you name a bunch of people, because you named a bunch of people in the different types of roles, when you're looking at drawing your inspiration, it can be male or female, doesn't matter. But who are you drawing inspiration from to create or just kind of curate your craft as you continue going along this process?
I think somebody who has been super inspiring to me, ever since I met them last October at the Jackson State versus Bethune Cookman football game, is definitely Andrea Carter. I think that with sideline reporting, To be honest, a lot of people want to do it. A lot of people want to do it, and that's a great thing. But it also makes the industry tougher to crack. And so, with that being said, having a certain like multi-dimensional capability about yourself. One of the things that I love about Andrea Carter is the way that she can report, she can ask you questions, she can, explain something thoroughly, and then also give you extremely good analysis. So she can break down a play, she can go to the monitor and point things out and really use her basketball knowledge, her basketball IQ to give the viewers a sense of exactly what is going on. So for me, as I'm preparing for whatever I'm going to be doing this football season, I have a great idea. Can't wait for you guys to see it. But I have a really great idea of what I'm going to be doing and where I'm going to be doing it at. But as I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking about just how I'm going to do the same thing, and especially adding my football acumen to it. Breaking down different plays, breaking down different aspects of a player. One player that I'm excited to actually really talk about is Davius Richard, and just his ability to not only use his arms and his legs, and just his awareness and his football IQ to make the plays that need to be made, and why he's a national champion, and also receiving the other accolades that he's receiving. But definitely Andrea Carter, I think, is one of my biggest inspirations. And then the fact that she's also very close to my age also gives me something I feel like to continue to look forward to.
I think that's a great point. You're looking at people who, with this space growing, they're literally peers that we can look towards and pick certain things. It's not just this 40-year-old or 30-year-old that's on television that we've seen for 5 to 10 years or however
Yeah.
long. It's people we really know. I can really have conversation with people I also take a lot of influence from. So I think that's a great note. And moving forward, I want to get into that career growth, right? Let's get into what's coming up next, the things that are going on in the future, and just kind of reflect on some of your career as it's gone on so far as we continue with Locked on HBCU. Today's episode is brought to you by Birddogs, and Birddogs is easily the most comfortable shorts out there. They have the anti-sweat material. I love this because, it's hot. I live in Texas, right? So we hitting 90 degrees on an easy day. Sometimes you need some of that material, that anti-stink sweat material, so that even when you're moving around, it's not too funky down there. And then you also have to think about the fabric and how it allows you to move freely. I say it all the time. You could go on a walk, you could go on a run, you could go on a lunge, or you can play video games. All in your Bird Dogs. That's how multi-purposeful they are. I really do enjoy these, and you will too. All you have to do is go to birddogs.com/locked on college, and you'll see all of the options that they provide. And when you inevitably pick one, two, or three, who knows? Make sure that you use the promo code Locked On College to get a free Yeti tumbler. Go to birddogs.com/locked on college and use the promo code Locked On College. And as we continue rolling with today's episode of Locked on HBCU, I appreciate you for making us your first listen of the day. Every day on Monday's episode, we'll be breaking down Blue Blood's All-American list for the FCS and seeing which HBCU players were able to make those teams. But right now, I have a rising superstar. But I think that versatility is something that no one can ever take from you. I seen you on, what was that, the PGA, either life or tour or some golf event. And I was just like, how do you get linked up from going from basketball to now going to golf?
See, that's the power of connections. And people
Hmm.
will come to me all the time and say, "Oh, Ty, how do I get to where you're at? How do I do what you're doing?" And I'm like, babes, connections are extremely important. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really fully grasp that, and I also didn't really, how we say, like, utilize them in the correct way. Partly because a lot of people made me feel bad for having them, because of who my father is, but also too, I just didn't really understand how important it was.
Mhm.
But as I've continued to get older, I realize it is extremely powerful to have connections. A lot of the opportunities I've had have come off of word of mouth. The work that I did with Anscape this year came from Mia Berry, who is the HBCU reporter over at Anscape, and her just looping me in on different projects, getting me in touch with the right people. And so I was able to have an amazing, amazing year, off of doing that. as far as the PGA is concerned, I worked with Weber Marketing, as Weber Marketing works hand in hand with the SWAC, and they were just like, "Hey, Ty, you did a really good job turning around video, doing your interviews during the content creation for the tournament. We'd love to have you out at the PGA Tour helping us create content for the PGA." And I'm like, "Okay, that sounds cool." And I had just come off the Black Sports Business Symposium where I heard Maria Taylor talk. And she was talking about how she never said no, how she always did jobs, even if they weren't within the norm of what she was doing. And now, growing up in Orlando, Florida, you got Bay Hill, Alworth, Tiger Woods. You could see him at the supermarket sometimes, not really all the time. You don't really see him, but you got Arnold Palmer Hospital, Winnie Palmer Hospital. Arnold Palmer is like the drink of Orlando. So,
Okay.
I've been around golf a lot. My father is also a golf fiend. So it was kind of a no-brainer. I was like, yeah, absolutely. And so I go on my last stop of the tour this Sunday, and I'm a little sad because I've been having so much fun. It's been so great. Um, I've been to places I never thought I would be. I went to Rochester, New York. Now, I mean, why would I ever go to Rochester, New York? But I got to see the Great Lakes. Upstate New York
Right.
is so beautiful, and I've been having a great time. So I'm sad it's coming to an end, but that's what happens. The power of connections.
I like it. And I haven't, like, we've never met before this. This is the first time that you and I have actually met, but we followed each other on Twitter for a little while. And I've seen everything that you've been doing. And it felt like once it clicked, it just was clicking consistently. What was that turning point for you where it went from maybe not where your career wanted to be, like you mentioned earlier, to now where you are now, where you're really excelling?
Mm. Um, Dang, that's hard. I mean, I just remember wanting to give up journalism as a whole and become like a flight attendant or something, or try to go into healthcare. I mean, I don't know. I was just really trying to figure out what my life is going to look like, especially since, we talked about before the recording started, but we're both COVID kids, I like to call us,
Right.
because we came out right when COVID happened. I was December 2019, so I was
Mm,
going through the process of interviewing for jobs and looking for things. Um, COVID hits, so I'm like talking to different teams around the National Football League, the NBA. I'm thinking, oh my god, like I got a shot here. This is amazing. And then a lot of people were like, hey, we got to rescind our offers. We don't know about the virus or its implications yet. So we're just not really bringing anybody on at this point. Sorry. And it was just kind of like, oh my God. But I just kept going and kept going. And I joined an organization of women in sports called Galvanize. It is created by Laura Oakman, third longest tenured reporter in NFL on Fox, but so much more than that. And she's just really cultivated a space where it's a whole bunch of women. We don't see each other as competition. We all realize we're going through the same things or similar things. I mean, whether they be career stuff, traumatic stuff, just in our own personal lives, how to balance and navigate that. And every camp I've went to or everything I've done with her has just revitalized my soul and my spirit. And then as far as faith is concerned, because I am a believer, really just knowing and understanding that a lot of situations that have happened to me over the past few years have been an indication that I need to lock in and focus, because God has given me little glimpses of how my life can elevate and will elevate. Should I put my full focus in it? But I really now, and this really just came to me like last week, about how I really needed to lock in and focus and what that was going to bring. So that would be my turning point.
So when you're at that moment where you're saying, I'm about to quit journalism, I'm looking at what Southwest, I'm looking at Delta, I'm looking at Spirit United. I'm trying to see what they're talking about, what the local hospitals are talking about. What keeps you from saying I'm done? What pushes you to say, I'm not going to quit this journey. I'm going to continue to be persistent instead of trying to find a different job.
Oh, I was doing like little Zoom interviews just on my computer, with different people within the world that I know. Khalid Kareem, Michael Jordan, the offensive lineman for Carolina, Dior Walker Scott, who was on Last Chance U the last football season, and then Unc, Terrell Owens. And I end the interview with Terrell Owens, T.O. or Unc as I affectionately call him. And he just started spilling just about how, we need more women like you in the industry. All the best to you, keep going. And really just speaking so much life into me. And I just remember like leaving that interview so happy, so excited, and just thinking about like, what if you do quit? Like, what about the people like T.O.? What about the people like your dad? What about the people that who are in this space, who people don't know them for who they are, or you just, if you quit now, you will live a life of what if. You will live a life of what if I never did. And I don't want to live my life like that. I mean, I would rather live my life in knowing that I gave something everything that I had, blood, sweat, tears, time, money, whatever it was, rather than living my life thinking about like, dang, what if I would have done this? Because these thoughts that I was having were like in late 2020, early 2021. I get into Galvanize, start working with the SWAC, start getting my face out there with the SWAC. Early 2022, like March, I'm on ESPN. And then everything happened from there. So had I quit in 2020, 2021, I would never be here. And it didn't even take that long, especially because COVID years feel like a blur.
They do. They do it. Man, COVID years. COVID years are, they're like dog years, bro. They're like
They
dog
feel like
years
a
because,
blur.
oh my gosh. They feel like the shortest, longest years I've ever experienced simultaneously. I don't understand it. I don't even know how we're in June now, but I don't understand how it's not September. I don't even know how to explain it, but that's COVID years for you.
Right. I don't understand how it's not January, December, and like October all at the same time.
It's crazy, but we making it. We making
Yeah.
it. You spoke
Yeah.
about your dad, and I want to move into the family aspect because not only your father, but then also your brother are involved in sports. So it's kind of like a family affair. We'll dive into that as we continue with Locked on HBCU. And as we're wrapping up today's episode of Locked on HBCU, I have Ty Floyd, reporter with whoever you want to think of, and she'll tell me after we get off air of who's coming up next. I just want to know if my guess is right, but we'll see. And I want to speak about the family because your dad goes to Florida State back in the day. Your brother goes to Florida State now, but you go to FAMU, still in the same city, but completely different university.
I
Why
followed
was this
mama.
choice made?
I followed mama. I followed mama's footsteps. But no, honestly, because of my dad's career and the blessings that we've received from that, we've always grown up in predominantly white neighborhoods. And it's so funny to say it. I can't believe I'm going to say this now, but back in school, I don't know if y'all have seen the movie ATL, but I was like Nunu. I would I'd go to school, hang out, be my little country club stuff, then go cross town and hang out with my friends, primarily the ones that I knew through athletics. And that's where I felt the most like myself. Now, obviously, there was jokes. I have a nickname. My nickname is Trillery Banks. And
oh my God.
that's just, of course there were jokes. I was an Oreo, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, that's where I felt the most like myself. So I knew that in terms of picking a college to go to, I knew I wanted to go to an HBCU. I was actually a basketball player at the time. So I was being recruited by Florida A&M. Didn't really work out for me to be a scholarship player there. I had an opportunity to walk on. I declined because I wanted to focus on my schooling. But even before that, I gave my dad a piece of paper, and I wish we still had it. I gave my dad a piece of paper of all the HBCUs I wanted to go to. And we lived in North Carolina when my dad played for the Panthers. So I had like Johnson C. Smith, A&T, Central, Spelman, Clark, and then I had Bethune-Cookman, Florida A&M, and Florida State at the very bottom. Yes or no columns. My dad put like no, 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 hell no. Girl, what are you thinking? And then put yes, yes to Florida A&M or Florida State. And so I was considering Florida State. I went on campus and I was just like, it's not, no, I don't like it here. And I also felt like it would be a lot of pressure for me to be pursuing sports journalism and my dad having such close proximity to Florida State athletics as well. And I went to FAMU and it felt like home. I met the dean of
Mhm.
the School of Journalism. I saw Pam Oliver's picture on the wall. And I said, yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be. So I ended up at Florida A&M. My dad got one to go to Florida State. My mom
Yep.
got one to go to A&M.
There you go. Split household, but united in Tallahassee. Now, you mentioned like the shadow, or not the shadow, but just being in such proximity to where your dad had a legend, at Florida State. Being still in the same city, do you still kind of feel that shadow a little bit? Or because you're at a different college, it's relatively non existent?
I mean, it wasn't that bad considering the fact that I did go to A&M, but definitely still felt it. I mean, I still felt it. Feel it today. I think I've really gotten over it and I've really learned to embrace it. But it used to make me so upset. I mean, I would go places or I'd be out like working or tagging along with dad, and people won't even say my name. They'll just be like, "This is William's daughter," and I had to be like, "Hi, I'm Ty." You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And it's just like it was something that I felt like I would have thrived. I would thrive anywhere. I wouldn't bet against me. I feel like mystical. If you see me in the forest fighting a bear, help the bear. Don't help me. But I just felt like I would have been better suited at Florida A&M, and I was. And I mean, I started on radio. That's where I got my start. WANM 90.5, the Flavor station. Started on the Playmakers. And so there'd be times where people would be like, "You sound just like your dad." I'm like, no, I don't. I don't at all.
You're just
And
saying that.
right, like you're just saying that. I don't sound like him at all. I had an internship with ESPN Radio in Tallahassee, and they wanted me to sound like him. They wanted me to always revert back to that history. And again, while now I've learned to embrace it, it's just kind of like I wanted to create my own name for myself, and to the point where I was almost in tears, and nobody knows this, but
Mhm.
we were on air for the SWAC basketball tournament, and the producer knew who my dad was. And the first time I was introduced, it was funny because my dad's nickname is Bar None.
Yeah.
So they said, we're going to throw it to Ty Floyd, who is one of the best new reporters we have in the SWAC, bar none. That was funny. If you don't know my dad, you wouldn't know. It was cool. I wasn't tripping. Then they switched some of the personnel around. I'm getting introduced again, and they say we're going to throw it down to William Floyd's daughter. Everything that I had in my head for that live shot just went out of my head. I was stuttering because I was just so upset because
Yeah.
I really feel like HBCUs is my lane. This
Yeah.
man didn't even go to an HBCU. What are you bringing him up for? You know what I mean? It's not like we're Mel and a Kel Blunt here. No, this is something completely different. So I was a little upset about that. But I mean, I've learned to embrace it now. Learned to embrace it and enjoy it.
So, what was your process of switching from playing basketball to then covering sports like for you?
Oh, I mean, it was good. I knew that I wasn't going to be a pro basketball player, and I didn't want my academics to be disrupted by sports because I felt like I had had that go on for so long in my life. And so it came down to my senior year. I knew I was going to Florida A&M at this point. I did not know if I was going to go into medicine, biology, pre-med,
Mm.
kind of to be a sports doctor. Because again, I know I've always wanted to stay in sports or athletic training. Um, but then yeah, here I am. I'm like in anatomy class, and it's all right, but I'm not really feeling it. And my anatomy teacher, it took her one time to yell at me real good, and I was like, all right, cool. I'm definitely not going into medicine if I got to go through this every day. And I just remember always feeling so happy and so excited to wake up in the morning and go to TV production, which is our first period class when you were in advanced because you had to do the morning announcements. So
Mhm.
doing the morning announcements, being on there, and just felt so cool, calm, and collected. Got to introduce new things to my high school, and I was like, yeah, this is my lane for sure. So that that's pretty much how it went.
So now you take your time in sports, your
Hmm.
dad and your brother. I don't know how much your brother really influences this part of the answer, but because he's your younger brother, correct?
That's my baby brother. That's my best
Okay.
friend. I like each other twins.
Okay, your twin, right? So you have your history in sports, and then you have your dad, and then also your brother growing up in this household around athletes. How do you feel like that has helped you connect with other athletes as you've been reporting or just analyzing or on the radio or anything you've done in media so far?
Ooh, I would say one person who wasn't included in this conversation because they didn't have. Well, he did go to college for it, but I would say my older brother. I've always been super inspired by my older brother. My older brother played baseball his entire life. Oh my God, we'd be out there in the hot heat in the summer in Sarasota, Pensacola, Miami, Orlando, Georgia, Omaha, California, whatever, watching him play baseball. But my brother, he's always been very musically inclined. So rapping, producing, songwriting. He's always loved it. He played sports simultaneously. And I think for me as a journalist, that's what I love to do. I love to figure out what about you is separate from like who you are as a person and separate from who you are as an athlete. And
Yeah.
so I think he would definitely be one of my biggest inspirations for that. And who I think about a lot, and I don't even think he knows this, but somebody I think about a lot when it comes down to me, my reporting, and what I try to get out of athletes, and especially as far as the vulnerability is concerned. But man, growing up in a football household, I just know that there's so much more to athletes because they're people, and it's so funny. I feel like I've I run my dad's social media, so I see a lot of
Okay.
what people will say to him and say about him, and it's so crazy to think that your parent is somebody's favorite something ever, and they think he's just this big old macho, guy, but it's so funny. Like my dad, he just loves his grandkids so much. He loves watching them grow up and playing with them. And my older brother bought him a grill 2 years ago for Christmas, and he'll just buy unique pieces of meat, season them, and watch them on the grill. But you would never think that or know that. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah.
the type of person I try to be when I'm reporting, and they've definitely have had a heavy influence on me. And I think now as I try to kind of have other goals like being on air and talking about things, breaking things down, they're definitely helping me out because I get to learn from them and see the game from their eyes.
Man, I appreciate it. I think this was a phenomenal sit down. Got to talk about the apparel that we wear, things we have in our at our surroundings, going
No,
through the family, the career growth, just the story of inspirations and where you are in your career. I'll let you know I'm a big fan of you, and I'm enjoying watching how far you progress and continuing along your journey. And I appreciate you for letting me be a part of it and also allowing me to help you tell that story. So you see her or her Twitter on the bottom of the screen. That's Taya Floyd. So that's THAI.
I'm A Floyd. Please let me clarify this right now, because a
What
lot of
happened?
people, a lot of people think my name is Taya. My name's
Right.
Ty, but it's just because the way it's spelled. The A is for Ali. My middle name is Ali. I can't change it on like Instagram because of the verification, but it's in my bio. But
Okay.
it's not a you thing, but I just feel like
No,
this is the
correct
perfect time
me.
for me to clarify this because a lot of people will call me Taya or they think my name is Taya. No, it's
No.
Ty. The A is for Ali after William Ali, who is my dad, and Muhammad Ali, who is our namesake.
You know, it's funny is I just thought you didn't I just thought you liked Ty more than Taya. So like I just thought that's why you went by Ty. And I didn't think it was an initial type of deal. Well, put that Ty A. Floyd.
Yes.
Significantly easier. Cause I'm sitting here stressing myself out. Cause I'm like, I think it's Ty. And I'm like, I don't want to mispronounce it because my name used to get mispronounced when I was younger. So I didn't want to mess this up. And here
Right.
I am worrying about something that doesn't even exist. It's not
Yes.
even a thing.
My name is Thai, and you guys, I'm named after the country, Thailand, where my
Yes.
grandmother is from. But yes, the A stands for Ali, and I've been searching for this picture, and I'm gonna find it before my birthday, August 13th. If you guys follow me, you will see it. But it's a picture of my mother. She's pregnant, and Muhammad Ali is touching her stomach, which is me.
That's
And
crazy.
if anybody ever wanted to know why I have such a fighting spirit, why I will never give up, why I'll never quit, why I'll float like a butterfly and sting like a bee, it's because I've literally been touched by the hands of one of the greatest, and he prayed over me. And
Oh my
I
god.
think I think I'm going to see some pretty amazing things in my life because of that and other things.
Well, Miss Ty A. Floyd at Ty A. Floyd on Twitter. I really do appreciate you. And that's a phenomenal story. Let's wrap it up there. But I need one thing out of you before I go.
Uh,
I need you to start every show with the play my music. I need you to play my music, and I'll let you go.
you need me to hit one of those?
That's all I need from you.
All right. Play my music. How's that?
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. We're gonna make sure we creating a new thing and we rolling with it. I appreciate you, man. And then on Monday's episode, to everybody out there, we'll be breaking down FCS All-American teams by Blue Bloods, a friend of the show. So until next time that we hear each other, family, take care. Stay blessed. Peace.